Have you ever noticed how massive, world-changing innovations seem to show up in big waves? It feels like they're separated by almost a lifetime. Well, today, we're going to dive into a really powerful idea, an 80-year cycle that basically resets how we all live and work.
I mean, just let that sink in for a second. These transitions, they're not random. Think about the jump from a world run on steam to one lit up by electricity, then the leap from analog to digital, and now, here we are, at the dawn of widespread AI. It feels like they're all following some kind of hidden rhythm.
So what is it? Is this all just one big coincidence? Are we just seeing patterns where there aren't any? Or is there something way deeper going on here? You know, a predictable human cycle that's driven by our memories, by markets, and by the totally different mindsets of each generation. That's exactly what we're going to unpack.
All right, first things first. Let's map out this pattern. Let's take a look at the innovation clock itself.
Okay, so here's a super important point to start with. This isn't perfect clockwork. You can't set your watch by it. It's more like a natural rhythm, a long wave. And it's not a new idea. Economists and historians have seen these cycles for a long time. They're driven by this mix of new tech, a ton of investment, and maybe most importantly, by generational change.
And you can literally see the pattern right here on this timeline. Just look at these clusters. First, kicking off back in the 1780s, you get the age of steam and railways totally reshaped the planet. Then about 80 years later, boom, the age of electricity and the automobile, which built the modern industrial world. Fast forward another 80 years or so, and we get the digital revolution. And, well, look where we are. Right on schedule, in the 2020s, smack in the middle of another huge reset.
So what's actually powering this clock? Well, it's not just the technology, it's us. It's all about how our memories and our life experiences shape whether we're willing to build, maintain, or just completely reinvent the world.
And at the absolute heart of this human engine is what's called the three-generation cycle. Think about it like this. One generation, maybe after a huge crisis, builds a brand new system. The next generation grows up completely inside that system, and they get really, really good at perfecting it. But the third generation? They never saw the original crisis. To them, the system feels kind of restrictive, and they've got the vision and the nerve to build something totally new.
This chart just lays it out so perfectly. You've got the builders. Think of the folks who lived through the Great Depression and World War II. Their core bias, reliability, stability. Keep things working. Then come the maintainers. They grew up with all that stability, so their focus shifts to optimization and making things more efficient. But then you get the dreamers. They never saw the original problem the system was built to solve, so their bias is all about possibility. They're the ones who look at the old ways and just ask, but why not?
And this all leads to this incredible concept, generational forgetting. As our collective memory of a crisis and the reasons for all the old rules starts to fade, those rules feel less like sacred wisdom and more like, well, just constraints. And this isn't a bad thing. It's actually what gives a new generation permission to be bold and to reimagine everything from the ground up.
Okay, so we've got the human engine firing, but there's a technological one too. Let's look at how these revolutionary technologies actually make their way through society. You see, not all technologies are created equal. The ones that really drive these 80-year resets are called general-purpose technologies, or GPTs. We're talking about things like steam, electricity, or the microchip. They're not just a single product, they're more like platforms. They become pervasive, touching everything. They keep getting better and cheaper for decades, and they kick off this huge cascade of other inventions that get built right on top of them.
And these big technologies, they always follow this super predictable adoption pattern called the S-curve. It starts off really slow with just the early adopters. Then it hits this critical tipping point and just explodes with insane growth. And finally, it starts to level off as it hits market saturation. We saw it with electricity, we saw it with computers, and guess what? We're seeing the exact same pattern today with things like EVs and AI.
And here's a perfect real-world example of that tipping point in action. In 2024, electric vehicles are set to cross about 20% of new car sales globally. Now, that 20% number is a huge deal. It's widely seen as the magic threshold where a technology goes from being a niche product to a mainstream one. It's the moment that kicks off that crazy exponential growth phase on the S-curve.
So, let's bring it all together. How does this all connect to right here, right now? With both the human engine and the tech engine firing on all cylinders, what does today's big reset actually look like?
So this shift isn't about just one single technology. It's about a whole new stack of them, all working together. At the very foundation, you've got AI and automation acting as this new kind of intelligence layer for everything. Then you've got the massive shift to electrification and energy storage. And on top of that, you have these mind-blowing breakthroughs in programmable biology and advanced materials. These are the literal building blocks of the next 80-year cycle.
Okay, so how do we actually navigate all this? Well, first, we've got to focus on building the complements. You know, the tools that make all this new tech safe and actually easy to use. Second, we all need to develop translation skills, learning how to apply these brand new tools to solve old problems. And finally, we've got to adopt that dreamer mindset. Understand why the old rules were made, but then have the courage to ask, hey, do these still even apply anymore?
And that really brings us right back to the core human element in this whole cycle. Progress isn't just about what we invent, it's about what we're willing to let go of. The fact that we forget the old limitations is exactly what creates the space to imagine something radically different.
And that right there is the most powerful takeaway. We usually think of forgetting as a bug, a flaw in our system. But in this context, it's a feature. It's the essential part of being human that makes sure we never, ever get stuck, and that the story always keeps moving forward. So, as we stand here at the very beginning of this new cycle, with a new technology stack and a whole new generation of dreamers ready to challenge every old rule in the book, the only real question left is the one we all get to answer together. What are we going to build next?